July 24, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. Go down to the bottom where my description is, and you can see timestamp in the video where I thought I saw setups as well as where I took my trades. I took a total of 2 trades today, both were green, and overall you can see that price action was kind of just in this big range, especially this blue range right here, for about a good 5 hours, which is a big chunk of time considering the regular trading hours is only 6.5 hours. So this is about 5 solid hours of staying in this range. You can see in the pre-market, there was 2 legs up, a little bit of chop, and the only economic data that came out today was the flash PMI index for the manufacturing and the flash services PMI, which came out at around 6:45 Pacific Standard. And you can argue that right around here, 6:45, when they announced it, this is where the sell-off started. So whether that economic data actually caused a sell-off or not, or it's just the usual ebb and flow of the market, I can't honestly say. But I do know whenever an economic data like that does come out, I'm a little more cautious around that time frame, especially since things could be very choppy. So after the sell-off, it kind of pulls back up, almost touches the high. And even though this is the pre-market high right here and the pre-market low, I dragged it up when it made this double top. And it looked like it made a double top, and you can argue for a triple top. And then there was these overshoots, and it looked like prices most of the time just kind of stayed, as I said, in this big blue trading range. I'm going to go in through my trades as well as the setups. It shouldn't take too long. Today was a rather kind of a slow day, as is with most of the days in the summer months. Trading is a little bit, I wouldn't say tougher, depending on your trading style, but it's just a little bit harder to find good setups because the volatility and volume is just generally lower. However, we are entering into earnings season. There have already been some financial banks and whatnot that have reported, but a lot of the other big companies like your Microsofts, your Teslas, your Amazons, your Apples, they have yet to report their data. Now, I know tomorrow Microsoft and Google are reporting, so that doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to create volatility in the ES futures, but it will probably move the market because those are the big guys in the both the Nasdaq and pretty much the entire stock market. So whatever happens with those guys, it kind of causes a ripple effect to other companies. So that's enough talking about that. I'm going to go into the trades now. The first trade I did see was after the first leg up was a failed second entry short. There was a new low made here, makes a first entry short, comes up. This is where it makes a second entry short. Now, I actually like this setup, but I wasn't around to take this trade just because it's in the pre-market. This is in the AM for me. So even if I was here, I'm more reluctant to take a trade in the pre-market. Now, this trade, it is nice that it is a failed second entry short because this is a pretty decent signal bar coming back up, and there's enough room to make it to the top. But that's neither here nor there because, as I said, I didn't take the trade, but I did mark it just as a kind of a note to myself that this set up somewhere else during the regular trading hours, I might have considered taking this trade. Then prices continue moving, goes up, makes this first touch, makes a double top. So that's when I dragged the top of this trading range from the pre-market high, and I just said it probably fits a little bit better up here. I did at one time have another line, horizontal line right here, just kind of as an indication to me to keep an eye in case there's this response that occurs. So I actually just go ahead and put it down right now. But I did have this right now blue line just to keep an eye out for it in case something happens. And there was a little bit of a reaction here, but that's actually your third or fourth entry. So you have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, makes a double top, and then this could technically be a third entry long or fourth entry long if you counted these individually. Nevertheless, there was no trade there to take though. Prices then continue moving down. I draw this short trend channel going down and it's containing this price action pretty well within this channel. It's responding pretty well. Unfortunately, I don't see any good setup. Here it breaks through the EMA, kind of chopping again. I don't see a good clean setup. As with a lot of days, pretty much every day, there's second entries everywhere, but those aren't necessarily second entries you want to take, or at least I want to take, just because the probability of them succeeding are lower. So it'd be more of a gamble, more of a risk. So I try to avoid those. I've been fooled plenty of times to know that those higher risk trades, if they work out, you feel like a genius, but it ends up building up bad habits. that I don't want to reinforce. I mean, I still have bad habits I'm working through, but it's better not to create new ones. And then prices continue moving. I do see this trade that I thought was okay, but I didn't think it was really worthwhile trade. It probably would have been more aggressive because you get a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. It's a terrible signal bar for the second entry long. Then you do get a higher low. The thing I don't like about this higher low is although it is a higher low right here, it closed below the EMA. The EMA itself is flattening out, and the signal bar, it's just not very clean. So it's a little iffy, sketchy. So I just left it alone. Then prices continue moving up, rallies up sharply, kind of chops around, falls into this smaller or yellow trading range. This is the first trade that I actually take. I saw this as a new high here. Technically, the new high is here, but I grouped this all as one at the top of the trading range. It says new high here, first entry long. This actually forms. I'm thinking there could be a potential second entry long because I like how the EMA is being respected. And so on the life of this candle, as it flashed up, I confirmed the second entry long as soon as it broke one tick above. And as it was chopping around, I dropped my order one tick above. Dropped my order one tick above, and I knew there was enough room, just enough room to get out before it hit the highs right here. And so that's where I got out. I just took it for 1 point, got out right here. I didn't want to push it too close to the top of the trading range in case there's a rejection or an early rejection. That was my first trade of the day. I like that it was actually at the bottom of the trading range. Depending how you did your count, you could say it's triple test. One, two, three, maybe a fourth test. But I just saw there was some kind of clear support happening right here. And prices continue chopping around. And there's a fail breakout here. It comes back into the trading range. Bottom of this yellow range is being respected again. Moves up. I see a second entry long here. This is a triple test, not a triple test. Well, on a micro scale, you could say it's a triple test, but it is a new high here. Triple confirmation micro triple top. The first entry long pulls back. Now here I'm watching if there's going to be a potential second entry long. Here it confirms the second entry long. Now there was a possible trade here, but I wasn't really ready to take it. It's just this looked a little bit like it was indecision, but it is at the bottom of this range. So I think this is a possible trade to take. If I were to have entered, I would have entered probably one tick above this guy, which would have been right here. Would have gotten filled, maybe not on this candle, but for sure on this candle. Here, it would have spooked me out because I would have kept my stop loss down here. It would have chopped around, and then I probably would have exited on this candle here. This red one here would have come up, ticked me out. If I held for longer than just my quick scalp, there's a chance I might have gotten stopped out. It would have made me nervous on this candle, but then for sure this candle would have filled me if I was going for a little bit more than just 6 ticks. Then prices continue moving up, makes another failed breakout, comes back down, chops. This is clearly a respecting support line, moves up, breaks out. It makes this, I guess, 4 touches here. So instead of adjusting this yellow trading range, I drew a second blue trading range, slightly larger. Comes back down, I see a new high here. You don't get a first entry long till about here, pulls back, you get a second entry long right here. Now, the second entry long is a good signal bar, and it bounced off the bottom of this range. So I thought this is a potential trade. It's also coming down off this short trend channel, descending down. It's a breakout or overshoot here, and you're thinking of fade out and potentially make another overshoot here. But as I was watching this, I saw this, I was thinking if I drop an entry here, it might work, but I wasn't sure if it's going to continue crashing down. Here, as it flashed up, I thought, okay, maybe there's an entry here. If I drop my entry one tick above here, it would have filled you, and most likely here would have gotten you out. Then prices continue moving up. It helps reinforce that the top of this blue range is valid. It looks like it's having some struggles, but it is respecting that as a resistance. Then prices continue chopping, and look at this. It made 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, 4 touch. Yes, there are little wicks that exceed past the range, but most of the time prices were pulled back, and they usually open or close right on this line, which is pretty interesting. Then prices continue moving down, makes one leg down, and this is where I actually saw kind of an interesting setup here. I saw this as a new high. I saw this as one leg down, first entry long, and then potentially a second entry long here. But then I also saw a micro or smaller second entry long setup. This is a new high here, first entry long. If you zoom in, Technically, you have a second entry long as soon as it broke up above here. Now, I didn't recognize this fast enough in real time, but this is also a new low here. It made a first entry short, and on this candle, it breaks up higher, then it comes right back down, breaks lower than the previous bar. So I saw that as a hidden second entry short. So here's a new low. First entry short, breaks up, comes back down. There's a second entry short all in the life of this red candle, and then it moves up. And that made it a failure. So it's a failed second entry short that was hidden. So I'm getting better at finding these, but I didn't see this in time, and I thought this is probably a possible trade right here because it's a pretty strong signal bar. It's set up nicely for the second entry long. Also had two legs down, 1, 2, and it had a failed second entry short, although it's hidden. Now, I didn't see this in real time, unfortunately, but it looked like it would have been enough to get a scalp out because I would have entered right here and most likely gotten exited right here. The danger is that this is with the EMA flattening out, and this is kind of in the middle of the blue trading range, which I've decided is kind of a respectable resistance up here and potential support down here. So you're technically in the middle of the range. So it is a little bit in no man's land. It's hard to tell if it's going to come back and test the bottom or turn back up. So even though it's a possible trade, it's a little more aggressive. I do take my second and final trade here. I saw this as a new low. It's a first entry short, second entry short. Second entry short, and I was thinking, okay, it closed because the second entry short is formed on this candle, but it looks like it's about to fail because it closed very bullish. And I saw that there's potential ascending short and trend channel going up. So I thought there's probably a trade here. I entered. I didn't enter immediately. I actually watched this oscillate and chop. And I dropped my order one tick above the original signal bar of the failure, hoping I'd get filled. It filled me. And before the candle closed, it also gave me my scalp, which is very fortunate. Had you had a runner, looks like it would have worked out pretty well. You could just trail it about probably right below the swing highs, or excuse me, the swings. And you would have either gotten taken out here, or you probably would have gotten taken out on this candle if you kept it very tight. Then prices move up. It had an overshoot, comes back down, continues chopping. And here, by price action, up until this right here, has all been staying within this blue range, and price action itself has been very slow. So it's actually been a pretty slow day. Now, that could be attributed to that the FOMC meeting is starting tomorrow with the FOMC rate announcement on Wednesday. Now, a lot of people think they're not going to raise rates. Not a pretty strong group of people also think they're going to raise another 0.25%. But typically on the FOMC weeks, the week that it happens, usually the Monday and the Tuesday, the volatility and volume is very low because most people are just sitting on their hands waiting for the news to come out. So tomorrow I anticipate will also be probably a low volume trading day. So it's just something to keep an eye out for and observe. There is a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And then you don't really get a higher low confirmation. Prices continue moving. It looks like it's just falling into this yellow short trend channel coming down. I do see this setup here, but it's much, much too late in the day. It's a new high, first entry long. This is setting up for a second entry long. There's a very good signal bar for a second entry long. Now, this is kind of at the top of its own trading range, so it feels a little risky if you wanted to take a trade here because you don't really have enough room to scalp out. You'd be banking on it continuing upwards, and up until now, you really don't have any indication that it's going to do that. On top of that, this is happening at timestamp 12:54, so it's only 6 more minutes left in the trading day, and it just feels a little risky to try to scalp out any more profit with only 6 minutes left. And then prices continue chopping and into the close. So it's been pretty slow trading day. I only saw I only took 2 setups and maybe 1 or 2 more possible trades that might have been worthwhile. One of them being this one that I didn't recognize in real time, which is a second entry long and the failed second entry short that was hidden. And then the other one probably was right around here at 739, 740-ish, maybe this one. It's kind of a setup that was similar to this one, made one move up and the second move up. And it was showing that it was bouncing off the proven support. So hopefully that was helpful.